This is much more about money than it is about security. The former Secretary of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, represents Rapiscan, the company which is selling these scanners to his former department. Far too many federal contracts are sweetheart insider deals. Companies hire former high-ranking federal officials, and then magically those companies get hugely profitable federal contracts.
Damn, doesn't that make you mad? Well, here he is in the flesh, or at least live via satellite from Knoxville, Tennessee, Congressman John Duncan, Republican of Tennessee, ranking member of the House Subcommittee on Highways and Transit. Welcome, Congressman. Well said on the floor. Let me also bring in our colleague, our dear colleague, Juan Williams, who joins us from D.C. tonight. But, Congressman, that is absolutely maddening. I call them anti-terror pimps. I'm telling you, since 9/11, there's been a whole class of people who've been enriched by feeding on our paranoia and our fear. And I think the body scanners, to me, a classic example, Congressman.
Well, I think you're exactly right. And in fact, a University of Pennsylvania professor about a year ago wrote in one of the Capitol Hill newspapers that the war on terror had become a funding bonanza now for all sorts of federal agencies and corporations and others. And he said the spending now far exceeded the threat. And what I've said repeatedly, we need to have a little more balance and common sense, and we need to come to our senses and realize that you know, people are just trying to make big money off of this, and what we need to do is I know that there are people all over this country, probably half the people, who anytime you say something is for security, they're going to be for it no matter how wasteful or needless or excessive that it is. But people all over the country are upset about these scanners, and I think they should be.
Well, that's a separate issue. I'll get to that one, Congressman. Sticking on this, I mean, the obscene money that these machines cost. I mean, I was in Iraq in a isolated,
right.
No, it was Afghanistan, actually. It was last April with the Marines, and sitting in this forward operating base in the middle of this dust-strewn field was one of these radiation detectors. Wasn't plugged into anything. It was sitting in the corner,
right.
Had some canvas over it. You could watch it deteriorating. I think that it's absolutely the scam of our times, and I'm glad to see Republicans,
right.
And you should get these Democrats, shake them up, get them on your side. Everyone's talking about deficit reduction, right. And yet we're spending, Bo told me the initial contract was $175 million on these body scanners.
Well, they've already approved for up to $300 million. I think the plans are for 1,800 scanners by the year 2014. But I think you're going to see thousands more, because you're going to see almost every federal department and agency want to get these, probably in almost all the federal buildings. And I think people have legitimate concerns about getting these full-body doses of radiation. I chaired the aviation subcommittee for 6 years, and so I know that there are millions of frequent flyers who go through these airports twice a week on average, and I think they should be concerned about it. And then also, parents are concerned about unrelated adults groping or touching their children.
Really? Imagine that. I see a guy touching my 5-year-old. I'm going to whack him and probably get arrested for it. Juan Williams, how often do you fly? How many times a week do you fly?
I fly a lot, Geraldo, so I'd say on average.
Do you have your children already, I hope?
I'm sorry?
You have your kids already?
Yeah, yes. We don't have to worry about that. But I'd say I take 3 flights a week, Geraldo.
Imagine that. So how do you feel about the bodies? I tell you what, put the body scanners aside for a second. Let's go to the whole notion, and this is the touchiest part of this, and I don't mean a pun here, the searching grandma the same way you search Abdul from Yemen. You know, I have more Muslim friends, I always say this, than anybody else on national television, and I'm sorry. I want the kid coming from Yemen searched differently than grandma going to Disneyland.
Absolutely. It makes sense to me. Now, let me just say, I think the congressman is right, but I just want to, you know, just because we should be fair to everyone involved here, say that Michael Chertoff, when he was head of Homeland Security, was an advocate of these machines long before anybody was paying him or he had any consulting role with them. And the second thing to say is that I had lunch with Janet Napolitano. I interviewed John Pistol just the other day, the head of TSA. And they tell me that in terms of the radiation, if you just walk around the streets of your city for an hour, you get as much radiation as you do from these machines. If you're up in the air for 2 minutes, you get as much radiation. So it's not a high dose of radiation coming from those machines.
Well, you know, the radiation isn't the thing that scares me. What bothers me is how wasteful it is. I'm out of time, Juan. Thanks for hanging around. Congressman Duncan, thank you as well.